Herbert Kitschelt's The Radical Right in Western Europe, A Comparative Analysis is a seminal work that examines the rise and strategies of radical right-wing parties in Western Europe during the latter half of the 20th century. Kitschelt's analysis focuses on the political, social, and economic conditions that facilitated the emergence of these parties, as well as their organizational structures, electoral strategies, and ideological frameworks. Context and background. Kitschelt's study emerged during a period of significant transformation in European politics. The 1980s and 1990s witnessed a decline in traditional class-based voting patterns and the weakening of mainstream political parties, particularly social democratic and Christian democratic ones. Concurrently, economic globalization and deindustrialization created socio-economic insecurities, leading to a fertile ground for political forces that could capitalize on these anxieties. Radical right parties such as the French National Front, now National Rally, the Austrian Freedom Party, FPO, and the German Republikaner gained traction by addressing issues like immigration, national identity, and economic protectionism. Kitschelt aims to understand why these parties succeeded in some contexts but failed in others, and how their strategies differed across countries. 2. Theoretical framework. Kitschelt develops a comparative framework to analyze radical right parties. He argues that their success is contingent on two key factors: demand-side factors. These include socioeconomic conditions, cultural anxieties, and political alienation among voters. The decline of industrial jobs, rising unemployment, and increasing immigration created a sense of disenfranchisement, particularly among working-class voters. Kitschelt highlights how these voters often felt abandoned by mainstream leftist parties, which increasingly focused on post-materialist issues like environmentalism and gender equality. Supply-side factors. These refer to the organizational capacity, leadership, and strategic positioning of radical right parties. Kitschelt emphasizes the importance of adopting a winning formula that combines authoritarian populism with neoliberal economic policies. This formula, he argues, allows radical right parties to attract a broad coalition of voters, including those who are economically liberal but socially conservative. Perk 3. The winning formula. Kitschelt's concept of the winning formula is central to his analysis. He posits that successful radical right parties blend authoritarianism, a focus on law and order, cultural homogeneity, and the restriction of immigration. These positions appeal to voters who feel threatened by social and demographic changes. Neoliberalism, advocacy for free market policies, deregulation, and a reduction in state intervention. This aspect appeals to small business owners, self-employed individuals, and professionals who favor economic liberalization. This dual strategy enables radical right parties to draw support from both traditional working-class voters and segments of the middle class, creating a cross-class alliance. 4. Comparative case studies. Kitschelt provides in-depth case studies of several radical right parties to illustrate his theoretical points. France's National Front, FN, under the leadership of Jean-Marie Le Pen, the FN capitalized on anti-immigration sentiment and nationalist rhetoric. Kitschelt highlights how the FN's focus on preserving French identity resonated with voters disillusioned by globalization and the European Union. Austria's Freedom Party, FPO. Jörg Haider transformed the FPO from a marginal party into a significant political force. By combining anti-immigrant policies with economic liberalization, Haider successfully appealed to a broad electorate, including younger voters and those dissatisfied with Austria's political establishment. Germany's Republikaner. The Republikaner struggled to replicate the success of their French and Austrian counterparts. Kitschelt attributes this to Germany's political culture, which remains deeply influenced by the legacy of the Nazi regime. The stigma associated with far-right ideologies limited the party's appeal. Kitschelt also examines cases where radical right parties failed to gain traction, such as in Sweden and the United Kingdom, emphasizing the role of institutional and cultural barriers. 5. Party organization and leadership. A critical component of Kitschelt's analysis is the organizational structure and leadership style of radical right parties. He notes that charismatic leadership plays a vital role in mobilizing support and maintaining internal cohesion. Leaders like Le Pen and Haider were able to craft compelling narratives that resonated with disaffected voters while also managing internal conflicts within their parties. Kitschelt contrasts this with more fragmented or poorly organized parties, which often struggle to sustain electoral success. The ability to maintain a disciplined party organization is crucial, particularly in navigating the tensions between authoritarian and neoliberal elements within the party's platform. Number 6. Electoral strategies and voter base. Kitschelt delves into the electoral strategies employed by radical right parties. He identifies two primary approaches: niche strategies, targeting specific voter groups with tailored messages, such as focusing on anti-immigration policies to attract working-class voters; catch-all strategies, broadening their appeal by addressing a wider range of issues, including economic policy, education, and healthcare. The choice of strategy often depends on the party's assessment of the political landscape and the level of competition from other parties. Kitschelt highlights how radical right parties have successfully exploited the weaknesses of mainstream parties, particularly their inability to address voters' concerns about immigration and national identity. MERP 7. Challenges and limitations. Despite their successes, Kitschelt notes several challenges faced by radical right parties. Stigma and marginalization. Many radical right parties face strong opposition from mainstream political parties, the media, and civil society organizations. This can limit their ability to enter government or influence policy. Internal divisions. The ideological diversity within radical right parties can lead to internal conflicts. Balancing the authoritarian and neoliberal elements of their platform is often a delicate task. Policy implementation. When radical right parties gain power, they often struggle to implement their policies, particularly in coalition governments. This can lead to disillusionment among their supporters. 8. Broader implications. Kitschelt's analysis has broader implications for understanding the dynamics of contemporary European politics. He argues that the rise of radical right parties reflects deeper structural changes, including the erosion of traditional class-based politics and the growing salience of cultural and identity issues. These changes pose significant challenges for mainstream parties, which must find new ways to address voter concerns without legitimizing the radical right. Kitschelt also highlights the potential dangers of radical right parties, particularly their authoritarian tendencies and their impact on democratic norms. The success of these parties can lead to the erosion of minority rights and the undermining of democratic institutions. 9. Criticisms and legacy. While Kitschelt's work has been widely praised for its theoretical rigor and empirical depth, it has also faced criticism. Some scholars argue that his focus on the winning formula oversimplifies the diversity of radical right parties, which often adopt different strategies and ideologies. Others question the emphasis on neoliberalism, suggesting that many radical right parties have shifted towards more protectionist economic policies in recent years. Despite these critiques, the radical right in Western Europe remains a foundational text in the study of radical right politics. Kitschelt's framework continues to be relevant in analyzing the ongoing success of radical right parties, particularly in the context of rising populism and authoritarianism in Europe and beyond. Herbert Kitschelt's The Radical Right in Western Europe provides a comprehensive and nuanced analysis of the factors driving the success of radical right parties. By combining insights from political sociology, electoral studies, and party politics, Kitschelt offers a compelling explanation for the rise of these parties and their impact on European politics. His work remains an essential resource for understanding the challenges posed by the radical right and the broader transformations shaping contemporary democratic systems.